Hey everybody, out on there, my front porch beer review land. I'm here today in Jericho, Vermont, believe it or not, about 5 miles from home. Um, just learned of this great new brewery that opened up, Lucy and Howe. I'm doing my first live interview with a owner, brewmaster, canner, sanitizer. I think Jesse Cronin from Lucy and Howe. He does everything. So, and he's agreed to step into it with me and go for our first interview. So, ready to jump right in, Jess?
Yeah, let's go for it.
All right. So, reading your website, Lucy and Howe Brewery or Brewing.com?
Brewing, yeah. LucyandHoweBrewing.com.
Yep. It seems like you come with quite a bit of experience prior with some of the well-known folks. Do you want to go through your brewing journey a little bit?
Yeah, sure. I started as a home brewer about 12 or 13 years ago. I was teaching at the time. I taught kindergarten and first grade for a long time. And then the kids were home. I stayed home with the kids for a little while. And then when it was time for me to go back to work, I wanted to transition. Brewing had kind of gotten its teeth in, right? So I started working at Four Quarters for a little while, kind of part-time, doing whatever it is that Brian needed me to do, mostly washing kegs and counting grain and moving big heavy things from one spot to the other. So I did that for a little while, and then I got a job as a keg filler at Magic Hat, second shift, which was a fun lifetime shift. I did both for a little while, but then it just got to be the mornings at Four Quarters and the evenings at Magic Hat, and as much as I loved the process, that was a lot. So I left Four Quarters and I stayed full-time at Magic Hat for 4.5 years and kind of worked my way up. So I've done everything from kegging to the canning, fermentation room, worked up to the brew tower, to the hot wort production, and then by the time I left this past March, I was the lead brewer for fermentation and hot side wort production and fermentation.
Sounds like you hit every job along the way.
There was a lot to do, but I tried to do as much as I could.
Yeah. So as I'm driving down here, in a pretty residential neighborhood, it's you're not expecting a brewery in the middle of this place, on Mill Street in Jericho. It's a pretty small brewery. You describe yourself as a nano brewery. What is? Yeah. Is there a definition for a nano brewery?
It kind of varies. Like the joke was always that microbrew was defined by how big Sam Adams got. Like that was always kind of like the limit. And then you can run through the list: microbrewery, nano brewery, pico brewery, and it's all basically barrelage output. So how much beer are you producing? I do a batch a week, about between 2 and 3 barrels of beer a week, which works out to between 60 and 80 gallons. It's about 20 to 25 cases of beer. So that puts me in the nano category on the smaller end. Pico would be, there are breweries out there now who are doing really quality stuff, but they're doing it like a barrel at a time. It's like 31 gallons at a time. And that gets down to like Pico end of things.
Yeah. Huh. Okay. So, and I was also reading on your website that you got a pretty cool place where your name came from. That was pretty neat. So maybe you could tell us how Lucy and Howe came to be.
Well, almost everything, beer names, business name, is a combination of things that, dumb things either I've said or funny things my kids have said. So I was talking to my daughter years ago about the house. And how it's an old 1850s farmhouse. It was one of the first houses on the street. And it was built by a man named Lucian Howe. And he was one of the original owners of the Red Mill. He was one of the guys who modernized the mill, turned it into like a 6-roller flour producing mill. And it was just a really interesting story. And it's nice to be in the house and see how it's an old Vermont farmhouse, really. Like it just, things get packed on as the years pack on, right? So I was telling my daughter all of this. I was telling her about Lucy and Howe this, and Lucy and Howe that, and then Lucy and Howe built the kit, all of these things. Yeah. And she she thought about it for a minute. She's like, well, they sound like a pretty good team, I'm lost at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, what are you talking about? There's a team. So I was telling the story of Lucy and Howe, and Lena was hearing the story of Lucy, a crack 1850s carpenter, and her like somewhat bumbling assistant Howe. And that's it. That's what stuck.
That is an awesome story. A great name. It's probably one of the best ones I've heard so far. You know, yeah, our kids say the damnedest things. So also, you know, doing my research, it says that you're looking to create a deep library of ales and lagers. What draws you to those sorts of beers when everybody else is creating these great big, you know, bold, hopped all the way? I'm just wondering if it comes. You said something about Austria. I wonder if that's where it comes from.
Yeah, we lived in Austria for a little while. We were teaching there for a couple of years, my wife and I. And that's where I kind of shifted from drinking college beer to something a little bit more sophisticated, let's say. Nothing against college beer, but it was an introduction to a much wider world of what beer could be and is. So, you know, you walk into a bar in Austria and generally you can just say large or small. You know, you either want a Grosse or a Kleine, and you get the house beer, which is usually a light, mildly hopped, very crystal clear ale. And it's always delicious, always delicious. So I wanted to bring some of that back. When I was thinking about beers that I would make, the deep library part comes from, I tend to want to try lots of different things. I'm definitely not Switchback, you know, where they for years cranked out Switchback ale and like really perfected that recipe. I've tried. I am not good at that. So the deep part comes from me wanting to try lots of different things. The ales and lagers, I just, you know, so many people do such a good job with the huge hop bomb New England juicy IPA thing. And there's so many good ones out there. I felt like there was a lot of room for me to do other things.
I think there's a lot of room for, you know, all of us to drink different types of good beer. I work hard on my college buddies getting them off of the Bud Light, and we're working at it. So yeah.
But
So right now, what beers are you currently offering?
Right now in cans and ready to go, I have two. I have, ironically enough, a double IPA. After that whole speech, I have our Impossible Ask, which is a 7.7% double IPA, and I have. I know, right? All that talk about. And then the other one is a strawberry rhubarb sour. Strawberries in a Cage, which the name comes from a painting my son made me when he was a kid, which is a 4.1% mild sour. I tell people it's a mild sour. It's still a sour. That's a real hard line in the sand for a lot of people. It's kind of a binary yes or no sort of thing. But I have had some people who did not think they would like sours enjoy this one. So it's not overly sour. You get acclimated to it, or after a couple of drinks, it's not a punch you in the face kind of thing. The strawberry and the rhubarb is a nice delicate flavor in the back. The malt bill is pretty robust, so there's a lot to it.
Yeah, strawberry rhubarb is my favorite kind of pie.
Oh, nice. Well, there you go. Yep. Perfect.
And how can my Front Porch Beer Review viewers get your beer? Where are you selling it?
Well, we're selling it in 3 places right now. I have no distribution footprint as of yet. That will probably change over the winter as the farmers markets kind of fade out and I need something to replace what I sell there. But right now on Tuesdays from 5 to 8 for the next week, and then 4 to 7 the weeks after, I'm at the Isham Family Farm Farmers Market, which is in Williston. And then I'm at the Jericho Farmers Market on Route 15. That's from 3 to 6:30 on Thursdays. That goes until October 1st. And then I sell out of the brewery. So on Fridays I'm open from 1 to 6, and on Saturdays I'm open 1 to 5.
And you do offer curbside for times?
Yep. Yeah, we, right now, if people want to order online, they can order through the website, LucyandHoweBrewing.com, and they can just call me when they get here, and I'll run it out to them. And the sampling I do offer samples, though I generally like to have those scheduled, just so I know who's coming. It's not a very big place. I mean, you've seen it. You really can't fit more than a couple of people in there at a time.
Yeah.
So people are welcome to drop by, but if there's somebody in the brewery already, there'll be some chairs out and they can kind of wait.
Cool. Are there any special events coming up that I know you do a few now and then?
Every once in a while, yeah. There's nothing on the schedule as of yet. We're kind of cooking some things up maybe for later in the fall.
All right, so you should sign up for the website and keep up to date on the newsletter and figure out what's going on.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely.
So is there anything I missed? Anything you want to highlight about Lucy and Howe?
I don't think so. I mean, it's been a wild couple of months for sure, but I think the goal was to kind of be the brewery for the neighborhood, right? Like there's the Belgian model where you walk through a town in Belgium and it seems like every 3 blocks there's a brewery. I think there's, we have so many breweries here and they're all doing really solid work, but I feel like there's still room, right? I wanted to be a really community-driven, community-focused brewery, and what I've enjoyed about that is kind of a couple of things. One, people in town and local have been really open to trying new things. So, like, there'll be the 2 beers that I put out first were a Saison and a Black Lager, right? Like, those are not your typical, like, jumping off points. But people bought them and people enjoyed them, and they kept coming back, which was nice.
Well, I just tried my first black IPA the other day.
Oh.
And that was really enjoyable.
Was that at Black Flannel?
No, I tried, I did Black Flannel and I did their Disco Montage, which is
that's
really
a good one. Yeah.
good. But up in North Hero, I drove up to Kramer and Kin.
Oh, man. Yes.
Somebody else, and I think that would be successful for the IPA drinkers around here.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
They have good stuff. Yeah, I had their IPA, the American IPA. I think it was a little more West Coast than usual, but yeah, they know what they're doing up there.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm trying to. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
Getting new brewers, smaller brewers out there for everybody, and
Perfect.
and seeing what we can do. So,
Good deal.
community.